Hello and welcome to Journalist Hangout. I am Esther Mokwariola. Today on the program, Lagos State agrees to compensate judgment creditors of Magodo estate land dispute with 549 plots. Federal government formally declares bandits as terrorists as President Buhari restates opposition to state police. And later on the show, Zamfara community celebrates 2 months of peace after deal with bandits. I will be hanging out with Paul Dada and Adekunle Yusuf, who is incidentally is a year older today. Happy birthday, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Many more years in good health and wisdom.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you so much.
All right, if you're ready, Journalist Hangout starts now. Now, amicable resolution of the Magodo Phase 2 estate land dispute is in the offing. An agreement seems to have been reached between the Shangisha Landlords Association, the judgment creditors and the Lagos State government. At a meeting with Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, parties in the dispute reached the pact, with the state government promising to provide 549 plots within Shangisha to the affected land stakeholders as directed by the Supreme Court about 10 years ago. While the event of a shortfall of the area, the government, in agreement with the parties, will provide alternative plots of land for them. Now let's share the story of the meeting with the governor with you.
24 hours after the protest by residents of Magodo Phase 2 over the occupation of armed policemen in the estate and the eventual intervention of Governor Sanwo-Olu, all roads led to Alaosa. Hours after waiting at the press center, journalists were called to the State House where the meeting is holding. Top government officials joined Governor Sanwo-Olu to host the stakeholders in the Magodo age-long land tussle. The governor noted that the meeting jointly agreed that the committee earlier constituted by the government should commence work in earnest.
Immediately, meaning from Friday, they would be working with all of the stakeholders at identifying available plots of land around the Shangisha area. Drones will be flown, surveys will be made. In the event that there are identified plots, allocations will be made timely, and what additional plots, if we don't have the right number there, will also be identified at mutually agreeable location with the other stakeholders, and the government will also review the list of all of the allottees, 549 of them.
He added that his administration would work towards ensuring a win-win situation. Chairman of the Shangisha Landlords Association, Chief Adebayo Adeiga, told the media shortly after the meeting that they will give the state government the benefit of the doubt to execute their agreement.
The demand is the remaining land there should be given to Shangisha Landlords Association. The rest will be, they will pay on ratification. They pay gratuity to us because we are not going to move to another place.
All parties have agreed to what the governor proposed, and we are very happy. All parties, including the police. So there's nothing to add. We will go along with the governor, and we hope that all decisions taken inside that hall will be implemented speedily.
The meeting had in attendance representatives of the Shangisha Landlords Association, Magodo Residents Association, and the State Commissioner of Police, Hakim Odumusu. With the intervention of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the 38 years journey of a land tussle is getting a headway. But this is just the beginning of a process that will require more fine-tuning. Adedoja Salam Adeniyi, TVC News, Lagos.
Like our correspondent said, this will require more fine-tuning. So, Adekunle, indeed, we know what we were discussing before this. We said that we'll come on air to discuss this now. So when you look at this situation, would you say an end is in sight with this arrangement?
It's difficult for me to say so. This governor, Governor Sanwo-Olu, has, come forward as somebody who is genuinely interested in finding a solution. But around him, he's surrounded with a lot of very difficult issues. The judgment is not new. Since 2012, Supreme Court of the land, when the Supreme Court pronounces, as far as we know in a democracy, that's the end of discussion. No rigmaroling, no this, no that. You implement it. Because if you want to practice democracy, rule of law, you should be able to respect the pronouncements of the court. Now, that's the final court of the land. Now, from 2012 to this time, how many people have been in power? So when you look at so many issues that have come up, you know that it's a very difficult situation. The state government had tried in the past to allocate plots of land to judgment creditors, which they declined that no. And truly, if I were one of them, I would do the same. A plot of land here in Magodo is not the same value with a plot of land in maybe elsewhere. So, a plot of land here, do you know it's not the same with a plot of land in Lekki? You know the kind of the work you will do on your soil in Lekki before you even start building. Right. So this is a very difficult thing to do. But I think when there is sincerity and the willingness to do something, it can be done. What the state government just achieved here is like at least de-escalate tension, which is good. I didn't like a lot of things that came up. Governor was disrespected, this and that. No, nobody disrespected the person and office of the governor. I didn't like the way people are. No, nobody did. If you watch the video, the governor was very civil, and the young officer was also very civil. You can discuss issues around state police, power, or whatever, but this matter is so clear. But when there is impunity, it becomes a very complicated, matter, just as what is, and that's what has led to this matter. Those who are in Magodo today, they said, okay, where will we go? And this matter, it is caused solely by the state government. Not the, I'm not saying the administration of Sanwo-Olu, but by the state government. And the fact that government is a continuum, there is no way the sitting government can shy away from it. That's to solve the problem, and that's what it is doing. When you look at what they said now, they come up with committee, they will have to look for plots of land around the same place. I don't know whether they will have enough, because 549, that's a lot. So when if they get such a number of lands, they will have to, the judgment creditors will have to agree that they will accept it, because if they do not, it means they're back to square one. Yeah. So it's a very, very complicated matter.
Complicated indeed. Mr. Paul, this matter, like we rightly discussed, had been judged upon 10 years ago, and it is now that this government has to deal with it. Although Adekunle has rightly pointed that the government is a continuum. When the court had given that judgment, it should have implemented it at the time. So now this present government is trying to do all it can to ensure parties parties involved in this case have matters resolved, amicably. But what would you say? Would you say the government doesn't have any I'm trying to get myself here on this matter because I don't really know what to say about this matter. What do you think the government should do at this point?
It's shameful that this current administration is burdened by the irresponsibility of past administrations. We're talking about a Supreme Court judgment that was given 10 years ago, but let's understand that the court process did not start 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. These people lost their properties in the 80s. 1984. Yeah, under the regime, during the regime of a late military governor, Bola Amuda Shiru. Okay, let's even say that military, being who they are, you know, during the military era, the military wasn't known for obeying court orders normally. So we've had 3 civilian administrations, before this one, and then none of them implemented that judgment. It went through the High Court, it went to the Appeal Court, and the Supreme Court also reinforced the order. Now, what has happened has raised a lot of issues about our country. We need to learn to respect institutions. We need to learn to respect the different arms of government. The judiciary is independent. The judiciary is the last hope of the common man. When you cannot find joy in other arms of government, when you can't find joy from government agencies, when you can't find joy in your dealings with your fellow citizens, this judiciary is supposed to give you joy. And now, when the judiciary says, okay, this is the wise men of the Apex Court said this is the way to go, and some people feel no, that should not be obeyed, or it should be obeyed in the breach. So what I am very happy the way the governor has conducted himself, because like we said before we came on here, it's not easy. He's a governor at a very difficult time. Indeed. When it's not dealing with NSAS issues, he's dealing with COVID. With it. So now it's a very naughty situation, because of course the government creditors deserve to have their properties back. The residents who have been occupying the place for many years they think they're also occupying legally because they obtained their CFO, they went through the right processes to get their property. But Supreme Court has spoken. End of story. So what should be done is what they are already doing, I think. But then the government creditors must be satisfied with whatever the governor is offering them. In fact, I even want the Lagos State government to go ahead and help them build their houses. Because their properties were pulled down. It is not enough to just give them landed properties. That is what I think. Now, they should be satisfied with wherever you give them. They were offered, like Adekule said, they were offered a place in Ekpe sometime, and they said no. Of course, the value of Magodo is higher than the value of Ekpe. So, already now they are looking for a place in Shangisha to give them. If they can't find a place, they offer them an alternative. If they are not satisfied with the alternative, they just have to find a way of satisfying them. The way to go is to douse this tension. Right. Well, let me hold your thoughts. And I understand we have a call from Jos Gambo. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening. You can go ahead with your contribution. You're live.
I'm Gambo. I'm calling from Jos.
All right. Go ahead.
Hello.
Okay. It seems we are yet to have a stable connection with you. When you have a complete stable connection, we'll have this conversation continued. So go ahead, Paul, from what you were saying. So what I'm saying is that the way to go is for the governor or the state government to respect the wish of these people, because they are backed by the law. Okay, they are not just, they didn't just come up to say we want to repossess. They went through they didn't use thugs. And there is no, I don't see any problem in the fact that they enlisted or they petitioned the AGF and the IGP. I don't see any, because if the Supreme Court has given an order and the judgment debtor is not listening, now the state government is not listening, then you have to resort
to
self-help.
Yeah, no, it's not even self-help. It's not self-help. If it was self-help, they would have just gone with thugs or something. They went with law enforcement agencies. They got, except that the CSP couldn't produce a court, but that's another issue. That's another issue.
You know, from Adekule, when you see these things, you just wonder, how will this happen in a government which is known to follow the right process? How will this happen? You know, we had different organizations, administrations in Lagos State, and they seem to have been doing well. So how will this, you know, happen to slip by under their noses and without doing the right thing at the right time when they needed to do this?
Well, it's surprising too, but the truth is, this is the more reason why this sitting government must put this matter to rest, whatever it's going to take, because if this had happened under the federal government, maybe against Lagos State, some of us will be openly condemning the federal government.
That's true.
The media will be extremely unfair, I mean, let me say critical of the federal government, because you cannot be discussing the judgment of the Supreme Court. What you are expected to do is to implement it. And that's what democracy is all about, rule of law. That has not happened, and we're happy it's finally about to happen. You get my point? To me, that's the more reason this sitting government in Lagos State should do everything. And from what I read in part of the communique, you know, read out by the Commissioner for Information and Strategy, you know, my good boss, you know, Mr. Benga, you know, they put up, the committee is chaired by the Attorney General. We have the Commissioner for Urban and whatever planning. You have the Permanent Secretary. You have Surveyor General, all of them in place. They said look for available plots of land in Sangisha, you know, scheme and meet the area. Then, if there are things the government should do, infrastructural development for people to be able to access the plots of land and all that. So the state government should do everything within its power to make sure that at least the people I want to be happy in this, first in this matter, are the judgment creditors.
All right, let's hold your thought. We need to take this call. We understand. Samuel is calling from Ikeja. Samuel, please go ahead.
Journalist Hangout, you people are doing a very good job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What the governor of Lagos has done, he has taken the responsibility of the past government. But what I want to say now is that there are other lands the state government acquired, not for public use. They were distributed to civil servants. The governor should look into this and bring in justice. Because Lagos has a small landmass, and the governor and the civil servant have in the past trespassed on people's land. And this should be stopped in the interest of peace and unity of this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Samuel, for your contribution. So, Adekule, you need to wrap up on this.
Yes, the caller just said it all. Whatever failures on the part of previous administrations, this is a government, to the best of my knowledge, the Governor Sanwo-Olu looks extremely sincere, and you know, should just find a way to right all the wrongs and let's move on. We don't need controversies in Lagos.
And righting the wrongs should be done speedily. These people lost their property 38 years ago. Property 38 years ago. I hope it's not going to take another 4 or 5 years to right the wrong. You know what I'm saying? So, righting the wrong. So. No, well, I know what I'm talking about. Because sometimes, you know, you don't get to hear the last about things like this. But hopefully, they will right the wrong very fast. I hope it's not going to take bureaucratic delays and all of that. No, I hope so. We have to beg. That shouldn't happen.
I know the caller also mentioned about some lands that has been, you know, forcefully taken, because I remember as a situation happened in another area in Lagos. This is we happen to have fallen victim. We bought a piece of land in a Black, but that's it. And it was about 1980s or thereabout. And he has already built his property. And everything is standing. All of a sudden, this was in 2013 or thereabout, some group of people said, okay, they got a judgment that says this is our property, and so we should vacate the land, demolish it. So the whole thing was, it was a drama of some sort. So it was like, I have my C of O. So where do I start from again? So this is one out of many other cases. Magodo, because it's prominent, people are there, so it is loud. So people get to know this kind of situation. What about other areas that are, you know, that are also where you have landowners that have been affected, that their properties have been seized and being sold out to people who do not know that there's a case over such?
I agree absolutely. This also happened to my family, to my father many years ago. This was in the 70s, you know, bought land, and then a family came and said, and they had built people have built houses. A family came and said, look, we've got court judgment or something. All of these properties belong to us. And people started negotiating with them, you know. But the truth of the matter, I also want to say, you know, in much as this is a very unfortunate situation, I also need people to be very careful when they are buying land. You need to do investigation. There are some lands that are already, they are government acquired already. And then people, maybe money less and go, we just go and sell land. And people have lived there for 20 years and all of that. Suddenly government wakes up and says, we want to use that place. They start demolishing properties and people start crying. It happens. We've heard of that happening. I think in my career as a journalist, I've covered such things before. But no, we are advising that. We have the Ministry of Lands. We have Ministry of Lands. If somebody is offering you land, go make your investigation and find out who truly owns the land. So that you don't begin to tell stories that touch the heart. Sometimes, when government agencies are rolling in the equipment to demolish these buildings, they don't do it with human face. You understand? They don't care. They don't care if you spend millions to erect your property. They just go ahead and demolish. So to avoid all, people should be enlightened enough. And I think that enlightenment also should be done by government. Right. Should be done by government. There are areas that have been acquired by government. There are areas, there are places that, so you know, there are times that you just go and buy land. You buy from the wrong person. There are times that Odomonila will just tell you, a family, you know, they have families. They have different branches of their family. So a branch of the family will come and say, they'll sell the land to you. Another branch will wake up. I don't know whether sometimes it's even planned work. Another branch will come and say, now lie, now we get the, and they will show you a valid judgment from a court. So we're talking about respecting the judiciary. What are you going to say? If they have validly obtained judgment from the court, it means they are the owners.
All right, let me quickly take this call. We have a caller from Braden Kebbi. Ibrahim, please go ahead.
Good evening, journalist Hangout.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, I'm calling from Braden Kebbi. I want to contribute to this issue of the Magodo land dispute.
You're live, go ahead.
The observation I want people to do is this brings to question the ownership of land in Nigeria. The Land Use Act that was promulgated during Obasanjo was fraudulent. Land generally in Nigeria is owned by indigenous people, not the government. Because initially that land in Magodo, if the government had properly acquired it and compensated the owners, there wouldn't be problems today. So that's just the observation I want to do.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim, for that brief contribution.
I think this caller and the last caller, when you look at what they said, you realize that there are areas that government acquired under the pretext that they want to use it for public good, like want to do a public hospital, public this, public that. But eventually, government would demolish houses, chase away people, and ended up sharing the land with maybe civil servants, top government functionaries, friends of parties and whatever, instead of using the same plot of land for public good as what. So these are some of the things that we should avoid, so that, you know, down the line, I mean, in future, we won't be having this kind of unnecessary, you know, distractions. To me, this is a distraction for the state government. The governor doesn't need the kind of issue. He has to solve it.
Final thoughts on this, Paul?
Government is there for the people. It's not there for itself. Government is there to serve the interests of the people. We are operating democracy, not a military government. So government has no right to go confiscate people's land or take over people's land without doing it duly. They can't. You can't tell people. You can't acquire people's land. Not that pretend that you want to build a government hospital as the case, international hospital as the case was over this, and then start giving it out to civil servants or your friends in government. You can't do that. You have to be responsible for the common man. Majority of people are poor. Some people acquire land after use their life savings to acquire land, and sometimes it takes some of them 3 years, 4 years to build. The day they have 500,000, they go and build it. So the day they have 200,000, they do something on the land. And then after the person has spent 25, 30 years there, you roll out your equipment and then you demolish, or you start, you know, all of that. It's wrong. It's wrong.
Absolutely. And let's hope that there's a final resolution on this matter. But let's quickly go on a very quick break. You're still on to Journalist Hangout to have more discussions in just a moment. Stay with us. What's in a name and how far does it go in addressing issues of critical importance? Now, the federal government has officially published in its Gazette the declaration of 2 bandit groups operating in the Northwest and other related organizations as terrorists. Now, this development is following a ruling from the Federal High Court in Abuja, November 2021, ordering the federal government to declare activities of Yan Bindiga and Yan Tada bandit groups as acts of terrorism. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has restated his opposition to state governments having their own police system, saying state police is not an option. Mr. Yusuf, let me start with you, Dada. You know, when we analyze this situation, when you talk about the federal government, you know, declaring these bandits as terrorists, one would say it's a little bit too late, is it not?
I am not really excited that they were given a nomenclatural change. I mean, if they have been animals, if bandits have been behaving like animals, naming them terrorists does not change anything to me. They are still animals. They have always been animals. Maybe we are now recognizing them as the animals that they truly are. Well, it's actually an ex parte order of the court that federal government has followed. Justice Taiwo gave that order, even though of course the matter was initiated by the federal government, and then they declared, he gave the order that they should be declared as terrorists. It's fine. But the truth of maybe this will probably, the fact that they have been given a new name could motivate our security agencies or to do more. I don't know. But we have always recognized Boko Haram and ISWAP as terrorists. We are still where we are, although we have made some modest progress. I don't know how naming of terrorist groups, bandits group as terrorists, will automatically make us to start gaining upper hand. You know, I don't know how effective that will be. What we want is, whether you call them terrorists, call them whatever you like, call them terrorists, criminals, outlaws, insurgents, whatever it is you want to call them. What we want is that there should be an end to banditry, especially in the Northwest and North Central. So many lives have been lost. So many people have lost their loved ones. There have been losses that people cannot recover in their lifetime. The psychological trauma of people there are people who escape or who were released, either through, what's it called now, through after payment of ransom. You know, that some of them will have to deal with. Some of them will even need to consult psychologists or psychiatrists, you know, to get rid of their problems. What about people who have lost their properties? What about parents who have lost their children? What about homes? You know, homes that have been destroyed. Those are the issues for me. Whether you call them terrorists or bandits, it's not my business, it's not my problem. I know that BK has always insisted that grammatically that a terrorist is somebody who does his thing has an ideology, a WAP ideology, while a bandit is someone who just does his thing without any ideology. Well, now they have been declared terrorists. If this is going to serve as an impetus for the
security operatives
to do more, fine, that's for them. All we care about is let there be an end to banditry. This is 2022. We want the narrative to change. We want the narrative to change. But let me tell you something. What I've always said here is that the business of kidnapping is a thriving one. No businessman gives up a thriving business. It does not make sense. If I'm running a business and I'm making lots of money, it does not make sense, I mean, for me to give it up. Now, they are, of course, they are criminals. They will not, many of them will not readily
lay down their arms.
Yes. These are beasts. They are not fit to live in civilization. They are not fit to live among us. Some of the, military, the chief of army staff said, kill them and bring their corpses home. I think that order stands. If they will not bend, let them burn. If they will not bow, let them break. That's what we want. Terrorists or bandits, we don't want them. End of story.
Adekunle, why do you leave this? Because, you know, an end to banditry, according to what he says, is key if we are to talk about dealing with this issue holistically.
Well, that's fine, but declaring bandits as I was one of those who have been calling on the government to declare them as, you know, terrorists. But declaring them, merely declaring them as terrorists, we not end the war against insurgency. There are a lot of things we need to happen before we do so. But one benefit, which I think can happen here is, you know, when you get to the international community to buy arms and ammunition, there are these issues around human rights and all those things. So, but when you label these people as terrorists, such things don't come up. You get my point? The government has always been afraid because when you declare people as a group as terrorists, they are always afraid of the international dimension, the image and all that. You know, many countries will just flag you as, you know, a risk, you know,
country that has, yeah, I get you.
Then inflow of, you know, direct foreign investment and all those things. I think these are some of the concerns of the government. But now, this matter has come to a level that nobody can hide anymore. You know, we need to do whatever is proper. Now, that has been done. So, but anyone who is just, you know, excited about this, maybe doesn't understand what is going on. Because the same government is the one that is often busy, you know, categorizing some people as repentant, you know, if you understand my point, and saying we are de-radicalizing, we are. So, in all of this, we need to come out straight. What do we really want? Do we want a country that is free from all this kind of criminality, or we just want to be deceiving ourselves? As far as I'm concerned, I'm here to see a clear picture of what we want.
And talking about having a clear picture, you know, what can be done to change these narratives of bandits having a full swing in the north? Because that is the fear most Nigerians have down south.
The government will do more. All the government has said has been doing its best. The best has never been good enough. This is not a new thing. This government made, you know, Boko Haram, you know, in about 2 or 3 states in the north. Now, something else has coming and so many things. And you know what? All over Nigeria, who is safe? Nobody can tell me he feels safe in Nigeria anymore. We have problem of banditry, kidnapping, you know, all sorts of things. You know, now the security agents are doing their best, but their best is not good enough. This administration is doing its best in the area of security, but it is bad enough. It is not even good at all. So whatever that needs to change, we change, should change if we want a change. If we continue this way, do you know what is happening in Niger State? You know what is happening, you know, Kaduna? You know what is happening even the president's hometown? I mean, home state, which is Katsina. All these states used to be peaceful before, you know, this government. So what we are saying is security crisis got worsened under this administration. They need to do more to fix it. They still have time. Right. They still have whatever it takes.
And everything's adjusted. And let's quickly take this call from Kaduna. Elder Dari, please go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, good evening, journalist Hangout, and to Mr. Dekunle, happy birthday.
Good evening, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sometimes this is what we're talking about. The government was kind of reluctant to actually gazette the decision of the court. It's rather unfortunate, but when IPOB were it took them 48 hours. I mean, what are we talking about? In this same country, until they were forced to gazette, they were not willing to. You see, nothing changed, like you rightly said. But if the political will is there, these people are not beyond what our gallant men and women can actually deal with. So the government must be willing to do the needful so that we stop this carnage of killings and destruction of life and property over there in the north. The government must be willing. These people are not spirit. I just pray that the government will do what is needful of them. Good evening, and God bless you.
Many thanks for that contribution, Elder Dari. Indeed, the government needs to be willing to do the needful. But Paul, what other strategies do you think needs to be adopted if we're to deal with this issue holistically so that we can put this behind us?
There are so many things that can be done. We've called for continuous coordinated attacks against bandits camps. We've had that, but it's not been done persistently, continuously. We've talked about the ability to gather intelligence gathering ability of the security operatives, the agencies, is still not there. Ability to win the confidence of the local population such that they can easily give intelligence. We've talked about even the military not going about with a proud mien. They have to be humble to gain the confidence of people. You know, this is Nigeria. Even you know what it is. They say police is your friend, and then if a dead body, if somebody falls now and then is dead, people are afraid. If I take him to the police station, now they go force hold. You know, that kind of mentality. We've talked about increasing the capacity of the military and the police to fight criminals. In a case where bandits are carrying superior weapons, and then what can you do? Even the policeman will run for his life. So these are issues that need to be done. And whatever we can do, I know that I also called for something. I called for a serious national security summit where you have people come together and prefer solutions.
Right.
Because if you keep doing the same thing the same way and expect a different result, you are deceiving yourself. So we need to improve. We need to improve in a very remarkable way. We want to hear what you have done. We want to hear that the worst of us can't be lording it over the best of us. There are very few. How many are they compared to good Nigerians? You know, so a lot has to be done. And we want the narrative to change for the first time this year.
All right, let's quickly talk about this situation where the president has restated his opposition to state governments having their own police system, saying that state police is not an option. Adikule, what's your take on this?
Well, as I said this way, anybody, whether the president, governor, anybody in Nigeria today who is opposed to state police is either totally out of touch with what is happening in Nigeria, or two, the person is not a sincere human being. Maybe you don't know what is happening in Nigeria, or you are not just somebody who cares. In Nigeria today, there is nowhere that is safe. the primary purpose of any government, anywhere, that's security. Has this government be able to deliver that? The people know the answer. So when we now say have state police, we are not saying dismantle the federal police. We are saying let's have something to complement the work of the federal police. This federal police that the federal government is always, you know, happy about, if not for the state governments today, maybe there won't be anything like the federal police, because the structures, the funding, the logistics, virtually everything, including allowances in some instances. If not for the state governments, I don't know what will have happened in Nigeria. I understand the sentiments of some people. We have some of the very worst set of human beings, some among the governors, and I know for sure we have governors under this administration who will go and demolish houses or properties of his political opponents because of just, you know, mere political disagreements and all that. We know we have such people because these are some of the fears. But the truth is, not everybody will be like that, and that there are other ways to checkmate such, you know, human beings. You get what I'm saying? When we are practicing federalism, there is no way you can deploy me today to, let's say, Borno State. Assuming I'm a policeman, I will need some time to learn the language, learn the culture, learn to understand the terrain and all that and all that. Whereas if you live within a, you know, a community, it will be very difficult for you as a policeman to misbehave, because they know your father, they know your mother, they know your people. Then you know many people around. I know the work this my colleague is doing. You understand me? I know the work you are doing, and we know the criminals among ourselves. If you want police to be the friend of the people in abroad like US, where police are the friend of the people, is because these are people who live within the community. You can understand my point. Right. So we need to do something to complement what we have. Anybody that is opposed to it, I will continue to say the person is probably out of touch, or is not a sincere person.
Right, Paul, final thoughts on this. You have less than 30 seconds.
Oh, 30 seconds. So much to say, but I'll try and rush. When I read the logic of Mr. President for rejecting state police, I find it very, very flawed. With due respect to Mr. President, his logic is very risible. His logic is that the governors can lord it over, they can use the state police to serve their own ends. Even the president himself, the federal government has been known to disobey court orders. Do you know the court order that Zaki should be released? Do you know how long it took for that to happen? So yes, there are men who are stronger, who think they are stronger than institutions. What we should do, like I said, is to set up mechanisms. Right. You can't check. You can't. We want to have a situation whereby if a court orders police to free suspects, you don't need to look at the face, the body language of a governor or an attorney general before you do it. You understand? That's what we should insist on. That's the mechanism set up. You can't say we are talking about terrorism. We're talking about banditry. You need state police, like you said. Look at this drama that happened at Magodo recently. You call a governor, chief security officer of the state. The police commissioner or the police officers in that place are not loyal to their IGP first. They won't even tell the governor of a state before they carry operations in the state. All right, and that's a fair place to leave it because of time, but we have to take a quick break. You're still on to Journalist Hangout. We have more discussions on this program. Stay with us after. Now, years of constant attacks on agrarian communities and commuters plying the highway connecting Dansadao to Gusau, the capital of Zamfara State, by bandits, prompted residents to devise an unusual solution. Now, residents of Dansadao in Maru local government area of the state are celebrating 2 months of peace after a truce in November 2021 between the farming communities, cattle herders and armed bandits in the area. Now, one of the bandits' leaders in the area, Ali Kachala, is said to have initiated a dialogue which the communities accepted due to the vulnerability of the area to attacks. Adekunle, so because I could not find a solution, I have to find a way to do things myself, because it's like we have been crying.
and the government did not come to our aid. So let us see how we can sit down together and live in peace. That's exactly what's happened in Zamfara, wouldn't you think?
Maybe, but when you look at many of the communities there, and things are not really good. You know, you see some of these criminals writing letter, bring so amount, we are coming so day. If you don't, they have to. Then, you know, rural communities, farming communities, you know, all those things. So this one, terrorists, because you can call bandits as terrorists now, thanks to the federal government. At last, Abby. So
it is a full use now.
We can happily call bandits as terrorists. Bandits as terrorists. You know, they dealt with the community a lot. I know the place very well because I've been in that Maroon very well many times. You know, it's like it's part of the state, but when you look at the geography of the state, it's like a place that is alone, so it's easy
to be for
criminals to prey on, you know, the community, and that has happened time and time. And despite efforts of the state government, you know, things are not working. But this peace deal was not initiated by the community. It was initiated by one of the gang leaders, Kashara, and his, you know, and they realized that they also needed farming, you know, farming products from this community and other. So they just agreed, and they alerted the state government. Since the state government had done it, so it's best that the best is not working. Then the state government said, go ahead, and 2 months from November till now, they have peace, and that to that community is worth celebrating.
It is.
That is what our country has become. It's so sad.
But how did we get to this point? Let me start with that.
Bad governance. Bad governance. We've discussed terrorism here. We discussed insurgency here. We have the military that can handle Boko Haram within 6 months. But the political authorities, the elite, they will need to search their soul. What do they want? So the moment we get our acts together, I can see it anywhere. The Nigerian military can handle Boko Haram 6 months. But there will be a lot of other things that will have to happen. When you are impoverishing the populace, when you are doing policies that are making people to become hungry, to become homeless, to become jobless, to become, you know, penniless, to become, you understand me? You are pushing society to this kind of things. So we need to bring in a lot of things to be able to de-escalate the tension. There is tension in Nigeria. There is hunger, there is poverty, there is anger all over the country.
Right. Paul, what do you have to say about this final?
Well, they say when the desirable is not available, the available becomes the desirable. The security agencies, state governments, federal governments have not been able to bring peace to that place. So when the bandit leader initiated the deal because they themselves have become frustrated. The communities stopped supplying them food. Because the community stopped supplying them food, they decided to be waylaying the residents on the highway when they are traveling to, especially when they are traveling to Gusau, because Gusau is actually closer to them than their local government headquarters at Maru. So, and then the man got tired, and then now they are celebrating. But I would say, I hope that they can keep the peace, because it seems to me that it's a fragile peace, because in December something happened despite the peace. Residents of the community, they saw a cattle herder on a motorcycle, and they dealt with him. And then, you know, maybe overzealous residents of the community who probably were not pleased with the peace deal or something. And then there was a reprisal. So I hope they can. It's a laudable one. They deserve to celebrate, because if we're in their shoe, you've been living in fear for the past 2 months. You know, they had to travel. They were traveling with escorts. They actually make provision for their own security. People in the community were traveling with escort, but now it's no longer there. Now some of their some people that were kidnapped in Dansadao were released by the bandits unconditionally. You know, it's fine. So I hope they can keep the peace. And I hope nobody will do something to provoke the bandits to start what they know how to do best. To continue
we just hope that we do not get to, celebrate things like this when we know we have a government that should do the needful to protect the citizens of the state. Well, that's where we leave it for today's edition of Journalist Hangout. And let me also say happy birthday to you once again. I know you'll be wondering, why am I singing your birthday like this? Well, you know, it's always good to celebrate one of our own. To wish you well, in good health and sound wisdom.
Amen.
And may the Lord continue to flourish you in everywhere you go.
Amen.
I've sounded like a pastor now. All right, it's like the backroom staff are asking for their cake. So when you get out of here, don't forget to provide one for them. Well, that's all on Journalist Hangout. Many thanks for being a part of it. Don't forget to can also watch a repeat broadcast tonight at 11, and also join us on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. We are also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Many thanks for watching. I am Esther Mapariola. Bye for now.